Everybody, how you doing today? Oh, let's see here. Evan's here. Hi, Evan. Great to see ya. Anna Best of the Great says, dig your playing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great to see you here there. And hello, everybody. We got some folks coming in here now. We had a lot of cool conversation yesterday. Today, we're going to be talking about what happens when things go wrong. How do you keep going with all that? We've been debuting the Blues Elevation Toolkit all week. This week, it's going great. We're having a lot of people picking it up, and I'm adding some bonuses to it. They're coming out tomorrow, and having just a great time going live with you. This is the third week now, going live every day. So great to see some new faces. And Bessa, that's sorry if I hope I got your name right. Great to see you here. What happened on this playing I just did right here? I just did a loop, and the loop didn't go into the 4-chord, and the 5-chord didn't work out right. So what did I do? I tried to make the most out of it. I just didn't. I didn't roll. I didn't stop. Say, "Halt, restart, everybody." Can't do that. I kept going with it. And I tried to figure out, well, where did the 4 and 5 come each time it came around? And I tried to set it up that way. The reason for this topic today is I went out to the local blues jam last night, which is over here at the Friar Tuck. If you haven't been to the Friar Tuck, come on out there. I'm there a lot. And we're playing, and I was put up with I sung 4 or 5 songs, and was put up with some folks who maybe didn't know the style real well, or they weren't familiar with the style. And it was pretty rough getting things together. Eventually, we started to get things together. But what do you do? So let's see. Evan's here. Hey, Evan, what happens when things start to fall apart and you're in front of a group of people? This is Evan here. Evan plays in bands. He plays a ton down in New Orleans, right? So what do you do when things start to fall apart? Do you freak out? Do you run away? Do you point fingers? Oh, it's your fault. You're doing it wrong. What do you do? He said, oh man, yeah, that's never happened to Evan before. All the rest of us, but you know what happens there? You know, the worst thing is the train wreck, right? That's when you just let everybody just stops and look at each other like, oh, we shouldn't have done that, right? He says you have to find a way to pull it all together, right? And a lot of that is listening. If you notice, especially nowadays, bands and everybody's got their tablets, and they've got their tablatures or their little notes, and and you see the bands playing, and everybody's faces are in their little screen instead of looking at each other and playing and listening to what everyone else is playing. Sometimes, which was the case last night, there was a little bit of not knowing where the first measure is. You know, where is that first measure? What are you gonna? How can we all get back together again, and find a reference point? This is where one is. That was pretty rough. So what you do is you keep on going, right? And you listen. And what are the things you're listening for? You listen for strong notes and for weak notes, and that's one thing that I've been stressing all week, is knowing the different sounds using your fretboard, right? Knowing what your chord notes are, and knowing what your strong notes and weak notes are. And that's one thing that having the toolkit that I'm debuting this week, and with all the different chords and all of the different scale patterns and knowing your root notes and playing scales. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Evan says, you look for the next change and you try to hit it together. Right, which means listening. And if you're not familiar with what the strong notes and weak notes are, if you're not familiar with that, it can be pretty rough, right? So let's see here. James is here. Hi, James. How you doing? Great to see you. Thank you for the testimonial. I used it today. It was fantastic. You're the first one I used. You and one other person, but I really appreciate that. Thank you. Everybody saying hi to James. Sean is here. What's happening? How you doing? Great to see you. We're talking about what happens when you're playing in front of people. What did you say? Sure can. Very rough. Yeah, okay. Yeah. When you're playing in front of people and things don't go so well, what do you do? So last night, I was the one singing and playing the songs. The people I was playing with, they were. I'll tell you what I played. I played "Born Under a Bad Sign." What was the first one I played? I played "Start It Up," which is a Robin Ford song. I played "Skies Crying" for Stevie Ray Vaughan style. What else did I play? I got it here. I'll tell you exactly what I played. Hold on a second. I get my little set list. I played "Going Down" by Freddie King, right? And not one of them settled in till the end of the song, right? Evan says, "Is it buffering for anybody else?" Let me know if it's buffering. Everything's looking good on my end here. So let me know. Sean says, "Turn red." Yeah. Or run, put your hide, that always works when things don't go so well. Yeah. So what we end up doing is I started the first verse on a few of them. And when I realized that things weren't on track, I just kept playing. It was in the key of D, right? And the bass line wasn't working and all those kind of things. And then I just kept playing D. And instead of going into the turnaround and instead of going through the changes of song, and I just vamped. And vamp is a word that you don't hear a whole lot lately, but it's a big deal. A vamp is a one chord backing track, or a vamp. You can vamp a chord, just staying on one chord until you get a verbal cue, or you get a look that okay, now we'll go into the song, right? So I just stopped in between that and just held on that D and waited till everybody could come together. And then she said, "Hide the face, say oops." Yeah, sorry folks. I know you were wanting something decent tonight, but this is what you're gonna get, right? But we had a great time, and once everything kind of fell together, things went real good. Everybody got off the stage smiling and shaking hands and everything. But you gotta keep going. And there's another thing too. The people here that are watching this, most likely, we know a little thing or two about music, right? Let's see here. We got. I know Evan does, and Best of the Gray. I don't know. I'm not familiar with your musical background. James, I know. Sean, it sure does, right? So sometimes when you're playing, the people you might think that you're making horrible mistakes, but the people that are in the audience may not realize. They may not understand. Oh, that note was, oh my gosh, he missed that note or she missed that note, right? Most people they don't even know the difference. So when you make mistakes, most of the time, we're thinking like guitar players or musicians. We're thinking, oh my gosh, that was horrible. Everybody's gonna walk out, and no one does, right? So a lot of times you don't realize it. What are the things that do translate to people who don't know anything about music? That's rhythm, right? So when your rhythm is off, that's when everyone knows about it, right? What do we have in common? We're above ground, right? We're breathing. So we're used to steady rhythms, and then when you get excited, things speed up, and when you get sleepy, things slow. We understand how rhythm goes, and we understand when things are offbeat. Your relatives that don't know anything about music, you can invite them to your shows, and they might think you might play everything out of tune. They may not even know it. They may not be able to hear it, but they do know if you don't play together or on the beat. And so that's the first thing that you want to get to. What do you do when things go bad? You get together on the beat. That's what I was trying to do last night. We got some more folks coming in. Let's see here. Evan says, you got to keep professional and keep the song together. That's the most important thing. That's correct. Ricky's here. Hey, Ricky, good to see you today. Man, that was awesome. I had fun with that. Let's see here. Fred's here. You make me want to teach guitar when I learn it. Cool. Thanks, man. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been teaching. I taught my first lesson when I was 18 years old. Somebody in my high school asked me, can you come over to my house and teach me a couple of things? And I said, I don't know how to teach anything. And I went and did it. And it was pretty easy. And so I've been doing it ever since. And I started podcasting 2018. So if you like guitar podcasts, if a lot of people listen when they're on the way to work or at the gym and those kind of things. We have 434, I think, was this week's audio podcasts. So head on over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and type in Play Guitar Podcast, and there is something. By this point, there's something for everyone. We've had a lot of episodes, but even before then, if we were at a gig and I was talking to another guitar player and they asked me some questions about something I did or something like that, I'd just sit there. We would talk about it. We would talk about it for an hour if I had that kind of time, right? So I love this kind of stuff. I hope you can see that I really enjoy talking about it, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. Let's see here. Sean, oh Lord, I hear. That's not how they play that. The note is that, right? Right. And Bessa says, I used to play percussion in a reggae band. Cool. I used to play guitar backup for like a calypso band type thing with like a steel drummer, a small band with steel drums up north. They used to do that. But I made the switch to guitar because the band didn't have a guitar player. Awesome. That's great. It's great. How far along are you with guitar? You feeling good with chords and bar chords and all those things? Are you playing lead? Let me know what you're doing. Put it right here in the chat. I'm curious. Evan says, I thought about teaching when I get closer to retirement. There you go. There you go. It's always, you just have to be a few steps ahead. That's all you got to do. You want to help somebody else, all you got to be is a little bit farther along, right? At least you know how to play and recover that way. But crappy players like, oh no, don't say that. You're not. Totally lose their place. Well, that is something that you can work on. That's a skill to get back on the train, right? When things fall apart, even if the band doesn't totally fall apart, say you're playing along with some players and something happens. Somebody, for me, most of the time it happens when people talk to me while I'm trying to play, or they'll come up and ask me, hey, you want a beer, or you want to, hey, and it's very nice, but I might forget what key I'm playing, or forget where I am, or forget what song we're playing, momentarily, right? Or somebody drops something, or somebody yelled. There might be some sort of distraction takes you out of it. How do you get back? And it may not take everybody else out, right? Aaron's here. He says, "How was the jam last night?" Maybe you already answered. That's what I'm talking about today. It didn't officially didn't go so well, but we're getting some content out of it today, right? I'm talking about it. We played. I said the songs here. I played with some folks, very fine players, just weren't familiar with the songs that we were playing. Did Going Down, Freddie King, Born Under a Bad Sign. Did Started Up by Robin Ford, Skies Crying. And then actually ended on Knocking on Heaven's Door. So I thought I would do something that wasn't quite so blues, and maybe that worked out okay. So, but, it had a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's what we needed to have. You got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You can't start it and then it just fade, so we kept going. And so what ended up happening is we didn't go verse, verse, chorus, verse, verse, chorus. So we would play, I'd sing a little bit and play, and then we kind of jam on one chord until we got back on track again. Then I'd sing a little bit and play, and then we get off track and I'd get back again. And endings, forget end. Hey, we just ended. I don't know how the songs ended, but it was one of those things where it was strangely enjoyable. And maybe maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just weird. But I kind of like the challenge of finding my way out of a predicament. Right. So let's see here. Dean's here. Hey, Dean, good to see you today. Thanks for hanging out. Sean says that, they're talking about, like, what you say? Oops. Oh, right. That's right. Evan says, I went to a jam a while back where I totally sucked, and then nothing musical came out. And when I went to take a lead, you got to get up and go through that to get to the good stuff. So they talk about songwriting too. I think it was Paul McCartney said you got to write the stinkers first before you get to the good songs. They don't just happen that way, but yeah. What happens if you have to play you don't feel good, right? What happens if you have to play and you're playing with, like I did, playing with people who you're not familiar with, right? Or what happens if you're playing all new songs that you don't know, or you're just not in it, or the sound. Here's the one that gets me, or your sound's not right. So last night I usually use at least a 30-watt amp. I thought, well, everybody else is using lower watt amps. I'll bring my 15-watt amp, and I hated it. It just didn't work. So everything last night was uncomfortable. I still played though, and what was nice is I got down, and I figured, oh man, I better, pull my collar up and get out of here pretty quick. And I got a lot of compliments. So I thought, oh, well, this was it. This is the one here, and still got a lot of compliments there. So you go through it. Let's see here. They got a bunch of stuff coming here. I don't want to miss any of this. This is good stuff. Invested the Great says, I'm still a beginner. I'm getting more comfortable with chords. The bar chords are kicking my butt at the moment. Okay, let's talk about bar chords a little bit. So I'm just going to do a regular old E shape bar chord at the 5th fret. This is the most common one, the A right here. And here's what commonly happens. Right? You get the kind of buzzes and scratchy, and it doesn't feel right, and it hurts, and all those things. There's a couple things that you got to do with the bar chords. One is the guitar setup. So if you're using heavy strings, or if your neck is curved forward, you have a lot of up bow, right? Or your strings are too high. It's going to be very difficult to play, and if you have to push the strings down really hard, it's going to knock them out of tune. Even if your guitar is in tune, the force of pressing them down too hard can help. And also if your nut slots are too high too. So getting your guitar set up for the lowest action possible. And I don't know, Ambessa, what your guitar is. I'm not saying that it isn't that. And I'm just making sure I hit every. I don't want to miss anything. So the first step is making sure that you can use lighter strings. These are 9.5s on this guitar. Only time I use 10s is if I'm a half step down, if I'm playing an E flat. But 9s are a little light for me. But I found some ones that are in the middle that work great, where I can still bend notes and I can still press the chords down, and it doesn't really fight me too much. But let's talk about the physically playing the bar chords, right? So one of the problems that a lot of people do is they put their finger down flat on the fret like this, and that's not what you want to do. We want to roll it to the side. Let me see if I can get it closer. Yeah. So I don't want to put my finger down like this. I want to put it off to the side. What that does is it makes it an easier. Look at the angle. So here see what's going on with my wrist here. I'm really feeling it across here. If I change the angle, see, I bring my elbow in, right, and it rolls your finger back on the side. But also, what it does, I don't know if you can see that where the strings were pushing on my finger. It creates a callus here on the side of your finger. Right, so it's very easy to get that right there. You start to build a callus up, so it doesn't hurt as bad. And then the other thing, so rolling your finger back a little bit puts your other fingers in position to play the chord down, and brings your arm in, makes it much easier to play. If you're playing, real low, like you've got your guitar down by your knees and you're playing, it's really difficult to do that. And you'll see those people when they play, their hands are super stressed there, right? So I'm not saying to bring the guitar up and look nerdy, right? Have it comfortable, but make sure you roll that finger back and get your elbow in so it's a little bit more comfortable. Then, after that, don't be afraid. Don't feel like you have to put your finger back here. Don't be afraid of putting your finger right on the fret. Here's what happens when it goes back too far. Right? If I go up front here, right on the fret. Now, because I'm rolling back, my finger's still on the back side of the fret here. You just can't see it because it's underneath like that. But I'm resting my finger on the back of the fret. It makes everything easier to play too. So those are the big things. And everybody's different. Everybody's hands are different, and there could be other things. But I help a lot of people, and these are the common things that work there. Rolling the finger back, getting the elbow in, right? Adjusting the level of your guitar so it's not too low and you're not straining. And another thing is that your thumb on the back of the neck too. So this is the last thing I'll talk about with that. And that is, you notice where my first finger's barring, my thumb is on the middle of the neck right behind it. And what that does is pushes your hand out in front so your fingers come straight down instead of coming off to this. If you start to see your hand looking like this, You got crowding here, and then you got stress on this first finger. As soon as you roll it back here, your fingers roll back, but these fingers are coming down straight. So let's see, whole bunch is coming in between there. So let's see here. Evan says bar chords are everybody's stumbling block for a while. Right. Then you figure it out there. Evan says we all get our lumps and best of most players, bar chords cheat. Unless the first three strings are emphasized. Do you mean the cheat like doing the half of bar chord instead of doing the full one? Is that what you're talking about? My mind, remembering shapes and forgetting all about the notes and intervals, just pure instinct, but I understand what I'm doing. Yeah, and at first it's going to be like that. You got to get in the game, right? So we need to know these shapes, but at some point, you got to start to realize, oh, well, the third of the chord is where my middle finger is here, right? That's going to be the note that's going to make it minor or major. You'll start to understand, well, what note is that? Well, this is an A chord. It's the third. It's going to be a C sharp, right? Then you can start to use these ideas and start to add ninths and thirteenths and all of those things in, dominant sevenths. You can make adjustments to these chords and I forgot that we're talking about the Blues Toolkit. One of the master classes in that is I start with a major chord and I go through all of I change this major chord into all of the different chords that you would play in blues, right? I change it into a dominant chord. I change it into a minor seventh chord. I change it into a minor 7 flat 5 chord. Change it into a fully diminished chord. And starting from a major chord and being able to do that anywhere on the guitar. That way, say you're up at the 10th fret and say you need a G minor 7th chord. There it is. There's one right there. I know how to get it. Well, I go to my G major chord and I change a few notes there. But you also start to learn, well, there's a G minor chord here, 7th chord here, G minor 7th chord here, G minor 7th chord here. You start to realize they're all over the place. But you got to get in the game. What Sean was talking about, you may, when you're performing, you may just be going for shapes and looking for that one note to put your shape on. But over time, it'll get easier. And once it gets easier, it's kind of like when you're performing, the shapes take up all your thinking. And at some point, it doesn't happen anymore. You've done it enough where you don't have to think so much. And at that point, you can start to get into them. Okay, well, what can I do with this chord? How can I embellish this chord? Those things. Let me see here. Evan says, I'm trying to get to the point where I'm moving out of shapes into more musical. Just what we're talking about. It's not easy. Think about thirds instead of shapes or chord changes. We're just talking about that. She said, yeah, yep. Evan says, I'm having no trouble mapping the arpeggios on the neck, just remembering what's in them. And what's in them when I play is difficult. Right. Well, just remember, it's a matching game. That's what we're playing. We're playing a game when we're playing a song. Someone's playing the chords, or we've learned the chords, and the chords are like, I think of chords as like a city street, and when I lived in Philadelphia, right, I lived in Center City, and you'd have a block, and it's just buildings, right, building, stacked. That's what a chord is. It's stacked. So like you're driving down and maybe you're riding your bike down the street, and for a while you're in front of one building. Just like for a while you're playing this chord, and then it changes to another building, and then you're in front of that for a while, and then in front of that for a while. They're stacked, and you're going in time through in front of something that's stacked, and then it changes to something different. And then the line is kind of like a bird flying in front of those buildings, or maybe going by the windows. These windows go up, but on the next building they go down. They're different. And so the line can go through strong notes, which are the chord tones, or weak notes too. And so the difference between the harmony, which are the blocks of chords, and the melody, which is flexible, which is a line that goes in and out and keeps our interest as we go. Those are the things that, well, once you get to the point where you can relaxed enough and are confident enough to take advantage of that. What? Here's that chord that's coming up. 2 measures, I got a chord. Well, what am I going to do when that chord gets here? Right? That's the kind of thinking. Are you able to think that during a song? So we all know that when you're playing a song, time is different, right? Time's going along like it normally does, and then some drummer goes 1, 2, ready, go, and and then all of a sudden you're in the song. Life is very different in song. I've always found, even the thing that always freaks me out is if I'm playing live and I'm playing a song, I can remember stuff from 10 years ago when I was playing the same song at some other place. Right? It actually triggers memories that you don't have normally, right? So living that time when you're playing the song it's different. You're making very quick decisions. I would love to see like somebody's brain scan, or when they're just normal, or then when they're in the middle of a song, what's firing off during there. You're okay. Well, I'm keeping in time, but I got to. Oh, something's coming up. What am I going to do? Oh, that didn't work. All that little. The little thoughts that you have as you go through these songs is very interesting, very faster than you think it is, right? So Shauna says, I have problems saying the intervals or names. Okay. What's the problem with that? Just in general, I keep losing this thing. Have problems saying the intervals or the names of the notes? I'll tell you what, that's a good thing to work on. And that's not something that either you have it or you don't. That can be learned, right? How did I used to do it? I used to close my eyes and I would go, and I'd give myself a minute. Well, what is that note right there? Then I look at it, boom, there's an A. Finding these notes here, I just pick random notes and I'd say, well, what's my tricks, right? Oh, well, I've got an octave, it's 2 frets down, 2 strings over. Okay, the 12th fret, I know those notes because those are the names of the strings. So if at the 10th fret, I'm a whole step below them, right? Let's see. And Beth says, man, I love this channel already. Thank you. I appreciate it. I learned a lot within a few minutes of watching. I appreciate that. Thank you. That was very nice to say. Made my whole day there. Let's see here. Shauna says the triads. All right. So what's a triad? Shauna, go ahead and put it in there. What's the we got 3 notes. What's the difference between those notes? What are the distances there? So we'd have a major triad, right? Here, let's do a little triad stuff. Let me share my. I'm gonna get the blackboard out here. All right. Share the screen. Let's see here. So triad, right? So triad, 1st, 3rd, and 5th. What she wrote down, you got it. So they come from what? The scale. So there's our C major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, and we have distances between those notes. Between C and D. Those are like you got one of these guys. You got a little keyboard. This always helps too, to visualize it a little bit. C to D, that's a whole step. D to E, that's another whole step. Whole step equals 2 frets. Half step equals 1, right? Between C and D and E, those are both whole steps. Between E and F, what do you got there? Half step. That's like the 2 white keys on the piano that are together without a black key in between them, right? F and G's whole step, G and A's whole step, A and B's whole step, and then B and C, another half step. This here is really what you're playing. Whole, half, whole, half. That's the formula for a major scale. That's the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do sound, So when we play triads, Shauna told us exactly what we need to know. C, here, let me make this full screen here. C, E, and G. Well, look at that. It's every other note. That's how it keeps going. As you build chords, you build them every other note. C, E, G, B, D, and keep going. And the more it goes this way, the less important the notes are. So C is the most important. The third, very important, whether it's major or minor or not. But what I'm getting in with triads is knowing whole step and whole step. That's called a major third, or I'll do a triangle. And a whole step and half step, that's a minor third, right? In a minor chord, we got C, E flat, and G. We take this middle note and we move it slightly to the left, right? By one half step. So when it's an E, that's major, that's as happy as you can get. When it's one half step, take that middle note, E to E flat, now it's minor. That's as sad as you can get. We can't get any sadder or any happier. That's all we have, right? Well, C, E, and G, if you can remember your major scales, right? So I know C major has no sharps or flats, so I'm going to know C, E, and G. Then if you want to know what C minor is, well, you'll take the third and flat it, and that's C, E flat, and G. Key of A, we have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. That's the key signature for A. So I know A, C sharp, and E. That is a major third, right? So maybe I would start, if you want to know your triads, I would start with your keys, right? Well, what's F? F major. What's F A, F G A B flat C D E F, right? Then I can pick from those. So it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg in music. What came first, chords or scales? Well, scales came first. Chords come from scales. So if you know your scales, then it'll be easy to pick the chords out because they're just every other note from the scale. They're just the intervals there. We have in the scale, it's cut up into intervals of whole steps and half steps. But when you do it in every other note, you combine them, right? So you have major thirds and minor thirds, and you start to hear them, right? So she says, you don't know it in a tight bind. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth trying. So I started playing on my own first, but I went to college for jazz. I have a degree in jazz guitar. And one of the things that I had to do, I just had to know it. I had to know all my triads, A, C sharp, E. I had to know all my seventh chords, no matter what the key was. And that was the first year we just had to know it. And before then, I didn't have a reason to sit down and know what all my chords and all my notes were and stuff. So it was really important. I didn't realize how important it was, because once it's there and you're going through on your guitar, well, you can build any chord that you want if you know what the notes are and if you know what the scales are. But scales come first. Know your scales first, then learn your chords from that, because they're dependent on the scales, right? It's a collection of notes. Some are strong and some are weak. How are you going to be able to take control of the weak notes and the strong notes if you don't know what the strong notes are? So we got to know that first. Chickens came first. Yes, sir. But Evan says, inversions, right? So for guitar, inversions aren't to me, in my opinion, when I took piano, inversions were very important. Okay, because they were laid out nicely, and you have a first inversion, second inversion. One had the third in the bass, one had the fifth in the bass, and it was all nice and neat. This is a mess. This graph paper that we're trying to play on, right? It's a mess. We're lucky to get a note, so we can't have, like piano has, everything perfectly. Well, then we have the first, then the third, and then the fifth, right? So you will see slash chords, G over B, third in the bass. But I try to stay away from inversions the way that they're classically thought for guitar because the guitar's set up differently. When I try to look for a chord, I'm looking for the notes in the chord in any way I can get them. So wherever my hand is, if I can get those 3 notes, I'm going to use them in that way. And the root may or may not be on the bottom, or it just depends. And I may have a bass player playing where I don't have to play the root. I might just play the other notes in the chords and not even ever play the root. That happens a lot because someone else is playing it too. So, but Shauna, what'd you say? That was the problem. I was only looking at an interval point of view. Yeah, well, just spend a little time with the scales and know your scales a little bit first, because the chords come from the scales, and they're all important. Intervals are important. Maybe tomorrow we'll go through the intervals. That would be a good thing to do. I'll go through each one, and then we'll hear what they sound like, and I'll work what's a minor second, a major second, a minor third, a major third, perfect fourth, flat 5, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth. I'll go through all of them. We'll listen to what they sound like. But they're from the scales, right? It's like DNA. The whole half is the formula for the major scale, and it's what all the music that we play that is Western music, like not music with quarter tones, like Indian music and Chinese music. This is the music that we listen to that has 12 tones in it. Everything comes from the major scale. That's the order that we base things on. Even minor songs, even modal songs, you can all relate it back to this formula. And once you can get that formula down, you can take control of it. You get all your scales, all your chords, and you can know all your strong notes and weak notes from that. So that's what I would do. I would start to work on your scales a little bit first. And you don't have to have the guitar for that. You can go, well, I'm driving to, I don't know, gym. That's where I'm probably going to later. I'm going to drive there, and I'm going to think, well, what's in a D major scale? Well, D, the first one's a whole step, D to E. Next one's a whole step. That's where I got to think. Because E and F, those are the two, E and F and B and C are the two places, the natural half steps. There's no note in between them. So E to F, that would be a half step. So D to F, that's a minor third. But I want a major third, so it will be F sharp. So D, E, F sharp. Now here's my half step. Well, F sharp's right next to G. So you can think through them first. Take the time to think through them. The problem I have is getting things in my long-term memory quickly. And I found that the best way to do that, Evan, Dean, people have been with me for a long time. James has been working hard lately too. It's great to have James back. It is daily repetition, working on this stuff a little bit every day. If you don't touch the guitar all week, if you don't think about this stuff all week, and then you say, well, I got time on Thursday and I got time on Friday. I got 3 hours each day. It's much better if you spend 15 minutes every day than spend 6 hours on Friday and Saturday or whatever the 2 days are, right? Because that time away from it, you're not getting the good stuff. And the good stuff is you want to be able to smile and have fun and play these things. And you watch some of these guitar players or any musician, and they're playing, and you're like, what are they thinking about? They're smiling and having fun and being able to feel it. And when I play it, I'm intense and I'm just staring at the ground or my hand, and I'm doing why is it that they can do that and I can't? There must be something special about that. No, it's this, what Evan just put up there. Repetition. They've done it so many times, it's on autopilot. It's in the back of their brain, it's not top of mind anymore. They can play this stuff while having a conversation, while they're thinking about what they're going to go get to eat later. Repetition is it. It's a gift. I always think of long-term memory, which is the stuff that controls your breathing, your heartbeat, walking, driving, eating, all the things that you can do without thinking, right? That's a very special place. And we've decided, We want our music ability to be in there. And I always think of it kind of like a nightclub with the bouncer is out front. And no, you can't come in here. No, we're full. Sorry. Right? I'm already worried about, I want to be able to drive 80 miles an hour and eat McDonald's food when I'm driving. That's what I'm saving this stuff for. So you're like, no, I want guitar playing to be in there. And how do you get into it? How do you get by somebody like that? Well, you show up every night and you keep pestering. Oh, let me in. No, let me in. No, let me in. And one day that bouncer's going to be like, come on, just get it. They'll get sick of it. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of you trying to do that. And all of a sudden your guitar playing is in, what I've been able to do is in long-term memory. I can play it and it doesn't tax me anymore. Have you ever noticed when you have to think about guitar or anything for a long time, you physically get tired? I'm past that now. So repetition, playing a little bit every day, and not playing things that you can already play well. There's something to that. That's repertoire, right? That's trying to refine the things you already know, or play them in a different light, keeping things together, not letting them go. That's one thing. But practice is something different. Practice is when you work on things that don't sound so good, and you're forging them into something that sounds really nice. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to hear themselves playing something that's not great. So you got to get used to that. And you say, oh no, that was for when I first started. When I first started playing, I did all that stuff. But now I can play my scale, so I'm just going to keep playing that over and over and over again. It's a trap. That's a trap. That's where you're going to be for 20 years, 30 years, some people 40 years, playing the same thing over and over again. You have to be working on this stuff a little bit every day. Working on something you can't do a little bit every day, right? And you get used to it, and you get used to knocking down goals. At first you start to go, hey, I don't know how I'm doing here. Is this worth doing? Am I getting any better? Well, if you do it every day, you can say, well, Lee told me I'm getting better if I do this every day, even if I don't realize it. And so I just did a podcast, like a motivational podcast this week. I hope if anyone's had a chance to listen to it. I thought it turned out pretty good. And one of the points I get into is, you start playing and you feel like you're not getting any better. You feel like, oh, I'm playing, but things are just, I'm not getting worse, but I'm definitely not getting any better, right? And you do that for a while and you're thinking, I don't know if this is worth it. Am I putting all this time in not to get better? Okay. And then somebody comes up to you, maybe you're someone in your family, in your house, and they say, hey, that sounded pretty good. What happens, right? The minute you hear that, boom, you're up to the next level. Oh, I must be pretty good then. They think I'm doing good. I thought it was horrible, but listen to that. So all of a sudden, in a split second, somebody says something, and you go from where you think you're plateaued right here, up here, like it's a stair, like you went up a step, right? Were you actually not getting better? Were you really not getting better? And all of a sudden, something happened that made you better? Those person's words made you better at the guitar? Not at all. You were getting better the whole time. It just didn't feel like it, right? This daily repetition is like a gift. It's a gift. Take advantage of it. Play every day. Doesn't have to be for long. You can play for 15, 20 minutes and you still get the same thing. And it's better than when you take 3 days off and you don't touch the guitar. Touch the guitar every day for 10, 15 minutes. That's all it takes to get in on the good stuff, right? And let's see. Let me see here. Wait, I will go back. Sean says, don't forget to like. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Wyatt says, Super White and friends. Who are the friends? That's what I want to know. Bouncer in my brain must be a big guy. He's not. He's not. Yeah, but you can just annoy him, right? Just show up every day and annoy that bouncer, right? And then Evan said, I think I finally beat the bouncer in my brain into submission. He's tired of you. That's right. You decided something. You made a decision. We go through life and things just happen, right? You make decisions. I want this, what I'm doing, I want it to get into the good place. Evan says, great stuff this week. I love the mindset episodes. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you do. Shauna says, what? 20 to 40 years playing the same thing? 100%. You have no idea. You have no idea. Playing the same, because, you know, some people, they'll learn they get to a certain point and they feel comfortable with that. And after that, the frustration starts to sit in. Okay, well, I'm playing Proud Mary again. Because that's what I've been playing for 15 years, and that's all I know. Well, the only reason you don't know other things, you gotta work at that stuff, right? Evan says some people do it, they just get stuck and don't progress and didn't get caught in that trap. Yeah, don't know a whole lot better. This is not an easy thing, right? I always say this. I say the guitar is not difficult. It's just not obvious, right? It's not obvious. You don't pick up the guitar and know the right way to go with it. And especially the way guitar is now, you get on YouTube and it's just junk. It's just tons and tons of stuff to do that you can learn. It's too much. It's like a fire hose aimed right at you, right? How can you get better trying to do a little bit of everything? You just don't go anywhere, right? So what I try to do is to help people do this. Stop looking at everything, because you're just going to be spinning your wheels for the rest of your life. Pick what's the smartest thing to work on first, and then you're off to the races. You're going faster than everybody else. And they go, oh man, I wish I had. Do you ever see that? Somebody's really good at something, maybe it's slide guitar, or maybe it's tapping, or some style of playing the guitar, and you go, I wish I could be that good. I wish I could have done that, right? Well, what did that person do? That person picked one thing and worked on it all the time, daily, most likely, right? And you didn't see when they sucked for years. You're just seeing the result of it, right? Super White and Friends going to start the Blues Elevation kit today. Awesome. And what I was going to say is, I think you said earlier you missed a lot of these live episodes. Well, guess what? For everybody who this week gets the Elevation Toolkit, I'm going back. I have video of every one of these live streams I've done for the past 2 weeks. I'm putting them all on one page. And so everybody up till Mondays when it's over. So if you get it before Monday, you'll have all of these things that we've gone over this week, all on one page. It's easy to get to. Except for that one where everything messed up the other day. I deleted that one. Evans is going to start the toolkit tomorrow when I get paid, and I'm going to try to attack the practice. That's right. And then we're all going to get on a plane, and we're going to head over to New Orleans, and we're going to go and see Evan's show, right? Wyatt says, sweet, I picked it up yesterday. Yeah. And so I'm working on it I've started the page, and it'll be separate from the toolkit. You'll get an email, and it'll give you a link to go to this page, and you can go to it anytime that you want, and it'll have all of these on there, including today's and tomorrow, everything up to Monday. So awesome. All right, everybody, I'm gonna close things up here. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me today. Especially thanks to everybody who was in the chat. This was a good chat today. The longer we're doing these, the more really cool people are coming our way. So I enjoyed all the questions and seeing everybody. And hey, let me know if you need anything. I'll be back. What's today? Thursday? I will be back tomorrow at 4:00. All right. And then I think Monday will be the end of this launch for the thing. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, everybody? Thank you. See you soon.